On an ailing stretch of Victoria's Western Port Bay, scientist and sea changer Dr Tim Ely inspects the rotting remains of mangroves which once hugged the coast and held back the tide.
I think it's a most beautiful place, and it must have been a much better place years ago. Huge mudflats were covered in seagrass, and there used to be mangroves all the way around, and it's not there anymore. It's all disappeared. My dream's to sort of increase its potential back to like it used to be.
His dream is to transform these mudflats into this, a thriving mangrove colony along 7 kilometres of eroding coastline. It's a massive project for an 80-year-old man.
Hi Tim.
Hi.
Hi Tim. Hi Tim.
Hi.
While he's working with a local conservation group, 3 years ago this scientist met a teacher from the Bass Valley Primary School, and they've since converted 200 local children to the cause.
The kids call me Dr Mangrove, which is rather nice.
You like that?
Oh yes, that's delightful.
Tim Ely had 2,000 seedlings he'd grown in his backyard that needed planting, and Tina Mailing was looking for a way to take learning out of the classroom and get her students excited about their local environment. But neither expected the children to plunge into the project with such enthusiasm, even when facing a driving wind and icy mud.
It's really great the way they hop right into it, and sort of it's uncontrolled mayhem. It's a little bit scary for me to have the little ankle-biting grubblings all around the place that I can't control.
Do you ever wonder if you're too old for this?
Yes, I am.
I'll put the stake in. Grant, can you hold this? Grant, this one.
When they find things or discover things, they're so excited in a way that I don't see in the classroom all the time. They're just jumping out of themselves. They're calling you over. They're telling you what they know. They're asking questions. That learning sort of seems to all bubble to the surface and spill over when we're out there in that open space.
It's very fun out here in the mangroves.
How are you finding the mud?
It's very sticky, but it's really good. It's fun, yeah, and muddy and cold. It's way better than work.
Way better than work?
Yep.
Well, I just thought they were a smelly sort of a weed thing that was just there. But now you know what they do. I learned through my children of what they actually do and how they sustain life.
The children bring it home, tell the parents, parents
it all
tell the
gets out there.
grandparents.
Want me to stake it? Yep, stake it.
Tim Ely says mangroves have been much misunderstood, wrongly regarded as a smelly breeding ground for mosquitoes. He's trying to convince locals it's the mud, not mangroves, that smell. They're an important fish nursery, and they're what's stopping the bay swallowing backyards. A much better means of combating coastal erosion than a steel-reinforced concrete wall that the sea has smashed to bits.
They come up with marvellous schemes to stop the erosion, which mostly don't work.
And all they need to do is plant some mangroves.
I reckon, yeah, lots of them. But
this straight-talking scientist moved to the coast 8 years ago after a stellar career devoted to the environment and education. In 1949, at the age of 21, he helped survey Antarctica's Heard Island and ended up with a glacier named after him. While working for the CSIRO in the Pilbara, he discovered several mammals new to science, including this tiny mouse, which was later named the Ningawi timilii in his honour.
the person that classified all these, when I asked why he called it Ningawi, he said, well, the Ningawi are a mythical tribe of Aboriginals that are 2 feet tall with hairy legs, and that reminded us of you, because I'm only 5'3".
So is that a compliment?
I'm not sure.
Well, that music in the background signifies that it's time to meet Dr. Tim once again, because...
In the 60s, Tim Ely had a weekly segment talking science on Channel 7's This Week Has 7 Days.
They actually proceed like this. They stick their tail in, and then they They push their nose forward.
He remembers many a mishap from escaping animals, including a handful of jittery crickets.
They all went down all the tunnels where the cables went, and of course they couldn't run any more programs there because of the crickets chirping, and they had to fumigate the whole studio.
While working for Monash University in the 60s and 70s, Tim Ely started the Graduate School of Environmental Science, the first of its kind in Australia, which has since produced 800 graduates.
How many mangrove trees do you think we'll get?
How many mangrove seeds?
No, trees.
Trees.
We'll get.
Ooh, thousands, I hope, thousands.
He spent his life encouraging young people to be passionately interested in the world around them. But Tim Ely never imagined these children would develop such an affection for mangroves.
They found one had some fishing line around it. Oh, Mummy, we've got to get the fishing line off the poor mangrove. Well, really the mangrove wouldn't give a stuff about the fishing line, and they had it mixed up with fishing lines damaging dolphins and things. But no, they were obliged to take the fishing line off the mangrove because it might hurt it. And it's a very nice philosophy they're developing.
I feel better living in the world when I clean it and help it to survive.
Maybe when you're older you can think back when someone says, oh, look at all the mangroves down at the certain beach, and you think, oh yeah, when I was a kid I planted that.
The school has now built a hothouse to grow their own seedlings and integrated the project into the wider curriculum. While they're achieving some regeneration, they were recently devastated when a mangrove hater ripped out 600 plants.
When you found out that your mangroves had been pulled out, how did you feel?
Oh, yeah, terrible. Really sad. It's not that good feeling when all the preppies have planted mangroves and stuff, and this guy came and wrecked them.
Could you pop a bit of that wet mud in there, please? One of the hardest things I had to do was go and visit all the classes and tell the kids about it. And initially they just wanted to go to court. They all wanted to testify. One of the younger students said they wanted to trustify him. And so it was interesting. They really wanted to almost go to the High Court over this incident.
I hear you called him a bit of a bastard.
Did I?
But the Mangrove project is generally being applauded by locals and the Victorian and federal governments. It's won a state award, and last year Tim Ely was named Australia's Coast Custodian.
Tim's an absolute inspiration to all of us. He's actually getting out there, he's walking the talk, he's doing something about the problem rather than sitting back and just watching it all go by. Yeah, what an inspiration. Go Tim.
And as they've lovingly tended their seedlings, the children have developed a deep affection for Dr. Mangrove.
He's awesome. I reckon he's got a massive brain that he's got an I can do it attitude.
Bye, Tim. Say, Tim.
It's very satisfying because it gives you a bit of hope for the future.
Say, Tim. Have to see you next time.
Yeah. It probably does keep me going, but I'd hate to admit it. But if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably get stuck in front of television and get fat and lazy.